Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Social Revolution podcast. I'm live streaming now from my college dorm room. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've moved. I'm now based. Well, I've always been based, but I'm now based in a college dorm. So, and I just wanted to do this right now, just to address the Democratic debates, which because and I mean I also look hot right now, but I wanted to stream about it because I've got thoughts. And the first thing that I want to talk about is actually Beto O'Rourke. Now this was literally my reaction. I saw the debates on downstairs in like the basement area or whatever in like the whatever one of the buildings of my college, and Beto was talking. He was on the screen, and I was literally looked at it, and I was like, "Fuck Beto! Like, just fuck him! Fuck, fuck him!" I didn't know what he was talking about, but it was probably his moment, his big moment that everybody's talking about, where he basically said, "Hey, if you elect me, I'm gonna take away every assault rifle." Now, I've got problems with that, and this was like the main thing that I wanted to focus on here, but I'm not pro gun control like in the same way as a lot of people on the left are. I'm more on the side of gun rights because I'm a Marxist. And if you actually read Marx and leftist theory and what it actually says, it says like the working class should never be deprived of arms. You need to be able to arm yourself. Marx would definitely have supported the Second Amendment, 100%. But the left is illiterate of theory in today's iteration of it, and for the most part, anyway. And any clear, consistent ideology with grounded principles is absent in a lot of mainstream politics today, anyway. And there seems to be a split of just voters and just people in this country who where like a lot of people who are pro like LGBT rights and moving towards the left economically and stuff like that are also anti or pro gun control. Now, I wrote like a little essay a few years back where I outlined my case, my pro or my anti gun control case, because I really don't think the divisions are like pro gun, anti gun. I think it's really pro gun control, anti gun control, and degrees of that. Because there are literally some people who are like, oh, yeah, I should be able to buy a nuclear bomb and use that to my discretion because I have the right to bear arms. I'm not one of those people. I think that there should be restrictions of what weapons a civilian can have, um, like no bombs, no tanks, even nothing that can cause great destruction. Um, But of course, a fast, high-powered rifle can destroy a lot of lives and end a lot of lives really quickly. But I'm not pro banning them because here's the thing. If you want me to define my position on that pro gun control, anti gun control spectrum, then I could basically say like I am anti being able to own a bomb. I am pro background checks, and I am against the assault rifle bans because so that would put me basically like somewhere in the middle of that because there actually is no such thing as an assault rifle. That's a made up term that people use just for because like think about it, every rifle can be used to assault someone. It's a rifle. But like when they're really like high powered and fast and dangerous like that, people start calling them assault weapons. But like the term AR that doesn't actually stand for assault rifle. That stands for like the name of the type of gun it is. Like not assault rifle, but like it's like some dude's last name. Certain classification of weapon, but so maybe that's a moot point you might be able to argue, but I would argue that you're just selectively thinking. But the proletariat needs to be armed. Like, let's just be clear about that. Like, we have that right for a reason. And I mean, the founding fathers were not misguided in that case. I mean, think about this. Thomas Paine, the guy who literally said, if you don't include this Bill of Rights in the Constitution, I will not make this country a country, was a socialist. So being pro gun control to this great extent is not really the leftist position. It's an authoritarian position. But do I think necessarily that Beto actually believes what he says? Not really, because I think that he's one of these mealy-mouthed centrists who will say anything to get elected. He doesn't really have a clear, concise ideology, like I said before. A lot of people don't in America today, in politics today, because we live in this world, this so-called post-ideology world where it's like, oh, we're past all that, you know, we're all just progressing now. It's like that ties into the whole Yang thing of like, it's not left or right, it's forward, man. It's like, no, there's no such thing as not left or right. You don't get to decide and say, oh, I'm neither, but I do believe in blah blah blah. Your beliefs reflect your position on the spectrum. So you can't just say there is no spectrum here when you're acting in politics, because you're not the arbiter. We know about this. We have political science, we have political theory. We know about this stuff. But not enough people are actually substantially educated or actually think about these things in an actual deep, principled level where they have convictions and ideas and beliefs and positions on issues. I think Beto took an opportunity to get in the spotlight, because he is really just one of these post ideology centrists who he's a status quo guy, and just like Booker, just like Biden, really, just like Buttigieg, which none of them were the surprise big like ooh boom candidate in the debate. I think for me, the one that shocked me and that really was like, oh wow, this is actually surprising that he's doing well and actually like making good points and saying good shit, was Julian Castro. 100%. Castro did a great job in the debate, actually, I think, because when he called out Biden, when he said like, I'm honoring Obama's legacy with my healthcare strategy, which is basically what he says is like Medicare for all, you know. That's what he says. Now, bear in mind, Julian Castro is a corporate Democrat. He's not gonna change. He's not really gonna shake things up either. He's not principled either. But he lets money speak over convictions also. But he shows the right, at least rhetorically, healthcare position, especially compared to Biden's, which and he's actually correct about that, because Obama said he practically laid out a Medicare for all position eventually, which started with Obamacare, of course, which was really just Romney care. It's really just a co-opted right-wing plan. That's why Obamacare is not good enough. the reason why Obamacare is bad is not because it gives people health care like the right wing thinks, but Castro did a great job. He really laid it out there. Kamala Harris, well, let's talk about Biden for a second. Biden was the villain of the night, you know. And Warren and Sanders tag teamed him a lot. They were right between him, or he was right between them. And Kamala had her little jabs at him. Buttigieg had his little Buttigieg the whole time was all like, I'm just over here making little cynical snide comments about the rest of the people on the stage and blah 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 blah. You know, he was like playing the like holier than thou game. But like Castro had his Biden bashes because Castro was like, I worked for Obama too. You were the VP. You want to take credit? Yeah, this was Castro's other great moment. You want to take credit for the good things Obama does and then deflect onto him for the bad things he does or did. He totally called Biden out for that. Totally, just spot on. Just good shit coming from a corporatist, which is odd to see. But I guess when you're next to Joe Biden, it's not hard. And yeah, everybody was bashing Biden except for like Klobuchar, you know, and Booker, because they're really not that different from him, really. And Biden was terrible. He was awful. His performance sucked. Like it wasn't good. Like he would answer a question just rambling about something completely different than what the person asked him about. Just totally off. Like, and it was particularly the questions about race in America and the issue of racism, because, and I don't know if anybody else picked up on this, but like, or if any of you picked up on it. I know other people picked up on it, but like they would ask him about race, you know, like the issue of race, and he would start rambling about school and like education and like and just in just an incoherent, completely irrelevant way, like not really answering the question whatsoever. And he kept he like said like, oh, something about record players or some shit like, and make sure the kids hear a word like what. That was how he ended. I'm like, what the fuck? Like what world do we live in? And like, but what I think is like, I'm surprised actually that the corporatists and the centrist Democrat and the Democratic establishment and the DNC are all like riding the Biden horse like into the dirt, like until it's a skeletal horse and like it just crumbles and dies. Like they're still on the Biden train until it just fucking crashes. Like I don't understand why they haven't switched to like, oh, Kamala's the darling candidate now. Maybe it's because everybody already knows Kamala Harris is a fucking cop and like she's like highly authoritarian and like like in a really fucking bad way. Which, by the way, this is like unspoken, but Amy Klobuchar, is the same way as that. Like she doesn't have a terrible prosecution record and shit like that, like Kamala does. But if she was a lawyer, she would, because apparently Amy Klobuchar was like a supporter of NSA spying, like hardcore. Like if she were president, you would have no privacy whatsoever, like Hong Kong type shit. Is the impression I get. But more about her. She's just fucking boring, dude. She's like, oh, I don't want to be I'm not the loudest in the room, but we already have that in the White House. It's like, yeah, that's what wins. Don't just go away from everything Trump-esque, literally everything like him, and say, oh, that's all bad, and go with a total opposite strategy as him. Because you have to understand, You can flip people who voted for him to your side. At least Bernie fucking can, because Bernie has good ideas and Bernie has a concise message. But this whole idea of like, oh, we need to be completely opposite of Trump in every way is not a winning strategy. It really isn't. Like, it's like that's bafflingly stupid to me that you could actually like hold that position of like, I don't think that people want what won the election. No, people want what they voted for. Like on a personality level. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people they're just dumb and they really just care about the person. Like elections and voting to them is really about the person and the personality. Um, they will people like loud, people like bombastic, people like charisma, people like assholes, people like these things. Trump is these things. Klobuchar is not these things. That's why Klobuchar will fucking lose, dude. We got comments, and I'm seeing one that I fucking actually like. Both the Dems and Repubs are owned by the same special interest money that gets them elected. You're right, but one of the good things about Bernie Sanders is he doesn't take any money from those special interests, and he's actively proposing policies that would fuck those special interests over. So that's a good Bernie idea right there. Medicare for all is a good Bernie idea. Um, there literally is no excuse in a modern society to not provide healthcare to people when they need it at any given moment that they need it for any given fucking reason. Like there literally is no excuse for that. I don't understand. The world is moving in that type of direction. We're the only developed nation that doesn't do that. Why? Because we have a predatory insurance business. That's why. That's the reason. Because you're already paying private taxes in the form of deductibles and premiums to these companies. That's the reason. That's a good Bernie Sanders idea to cut that problem out completely. You know what another good Bernie Sanders idea is? Full legalization on the federal level of marijuana. Marijuana is not dangerous for you. Marijuana is actually probably fucking good for you. For any kind of ailment that you might have, it's literally a fucking miracle plant, as far as I can see. Good Bernie ideas. Ending the wars. We still have troops in fucking Afghanistan and Iraq. That's completely fucking pointless. Like we don't need to be invading more countries and fighting these perpetual wars over resources and land and geopolitical bullshit that literally is just like stupid, and we're literally just propping up Saudi Arabia and shit like that. But is medical coverage a privilege or a fundamental right? I would say, and Bernie would say, it should definitely be a fundamental right because we have a society now that has the ability to care for people and care for each other in that way. You understand what I mean? So like maybe yeah, in the primitive times, like fucking thousands, hundreds of years ago, we didn't have that kind of resource, but like the police force and the firefighters, that's already paid, that's already publicly paid, that's already socialized. So you wouldn't want to have to be like, oh, someone just robbed me. I got to go pay the cops for them to help me with that situation. No, it's the same type of deal for fucking doctors, in my opinion. I broke my goddamn leg. Now I have to pay to get it fixed, and maybe I can't afford that, and I just have to sit here with a fucking broken leg. No, dude, nah. We need to take care of each other. What was I talking about? About Biden. Biden. Well, I think my last point was like I'm super surprised that the establishment hasn't went full Kamala Harris yet, because she is the one that I think, and people I've talked to think, is gonna be like their choice. Like even though Biden is their choice now, Biden honestly has got a fucking Biden has gotta fucking drop the fuck out, dude. Like, just for his own health, because like this was the other thing I was gonna say about him. He's going senile, probably. That's not like a definitive statement. It seems like his brain is melting out of his ears. Every time he talks, he loses support. That's what happens every single time. Biden's ran for president before. Every single time he runs, he loses. He loses the primary because the more he talks, the more support he loses because he's not a good he's not a good politician on the side of policy. He really isn't. He supported a lot of fucked up shit. His crime bill was awful. Um he has political skills. Like he has charisma on some level. He is an asshole. He has asshole charisma as well. Not to the extent that Trump does, because he's too into the fucking centrist civility politics bullshit. Um, but but Kamala Harris seemed fucking drunk during the debate. I will tell you that right now. Not like Larry Kudlow drunk, but like seriously fucking like it was like she just drank a bottle of NyQuil before the debate. Like she was her speech was slurring and she was like talking slower. Like it was really off-putting to me and just kind of funny the way that Kamala Harris was just acting and talking the entire time because it was like something's up. Like like maybe she just discovered marijuana. It's actually not bad. And like some Kamala Harris like liberal fan was like, "Oh hey, take a hit of my weed pen," and she before she went on stage. Maybe that's the story, but like she seemed really off and slow and slurred during the entire debate. Um, that's all I have to say about her. She really doesn't have good ideas, and Kamala Harris is a fucking cop, dude. She's an authoritarian. She would be disastrous for this country, you know, on a Hillary Clinton type of level. Um, who else? Who else do we have to discuss? Well, who else was on stage? Well, we could talk about who wasn't on stage. I'm so fucking glad they got rid of John Delaney at this point. Fuck John Delaney. Literally just Joe Biden light, but more of a dick. Like it's craziness. John Delaney is literally like when Warren burned him during the last debate of like, hey, this is Mr. We can't do anything. This is Mr. Helpless. This is Mr. like, oh, blah blah blah, poo poo poo. All your ideas, fuck them. Let's just keep everything the same way it is because we just can't. We're just powerless to help it, man. That's how you can tell someone's fucking bribed, dude. Um, so I'm super glad John Delaney is out of the debates, but he's still in the race, although still polling at like 1. Um, and then yeah, Tulsi Gabbard was not on the debate stage either, which Tulsi Gabbard opinion on my side of things is very like she used to be my number 2 choice behind Bernie. Like Tulsi Gabbard used to be my number 2 choice behind Bernie. Because I thought like, oh, she gets the war issue. Like she gets it. She understands. But lately, it seems like she comes at it from a lot more of like a we need to shield our resources away. Like we can't afford war type of aspect going on here, and not really like a moral condemnation of like, hey, it's fucking bad to manipulate your population into letting you invade countries. She's like, that's not her message. And yeah, she talks about oh shit, she talks about the military industrial complex, but She doesn't talk about like how to combat or dismantle it, or like actually like hey, this is why the war is bad, because these people are lining their pockets at our expense, sending us to die for no reason. Anti-imperialism is not her ideology, and that's a problem. She's better on the war issue than most elected officials in this day and age are, but she's not where I would like her to be. And I mean, if you're really for a good, conducive, cooperative, international kind of helpful Bernie Sanders or foreign policy, vote Bernie Sanders is what I would say. I think Bernie is the candidate for that. So now for me, Tulsi is like probably like third or fourth choice, and Warren would be my second choice, I think. But Elizabeth Warren has problems as well. Bernie calls himself and deploys the socialist moniker. You know, he wears that on his sleeve proudly. Um, he people call him that. He calls himself that. But really, he's not a socialist. He's a social democrat. He's just a sock dem. It's very, very, very different, and that's why I was angry, and so many of us on the left were angry as fuck when Jorge asked that question of what's the difference between you and Maduro? Because if you want to talk ideology, you could literally say, hey, Bernie Sanders, what's the difference between authoritarian communism and your version of socialism again? But no, he brings in Maduro into it, and that falls under this whole narrative about him to smear him of like, oh, he's Mr. Maduro. He loves dictatorships. He's just like them. He is the American Maduro. That's false. That is completely not true. Maduro comes from the what's his name? Who's the guy who led Venezuela before him? He comes from like the Democratic Socialist, of like the authoritarian, like the statist version of democratic socialism, that kind of school of thought. Um, that's where Maduro is from. You can tell he's very like, he wants to look like Stalin and be like a strong man, and he's very megalomaniacal. Um, and that's why his iteration of socialism is a failure, because he doesn't have the policy. He doesn't have the policies. He doesn't have the actual political chops, because the policies he implemented were just bad, regardless of the economic system of the country. Like, there are policies that are just not going to work out for different reasons than, oh, it's capitalist or oh, it's socialist. The ideology of a policy is not the end all be all of whether or not it's good or bad. God damn it, dude. I hate spilling my drink on myself. But yeah, they want to paint Bernie as a Maduro type. Bernie is really more of a Scandinavian countries, Canadian type of sock dem. He's not a socialist, but he is farther left probably than he runs on, honestly, because he's been a leftist his entire life, and his positions have been incredibly consistent his entire career. So it would be interesting to see if we do get a Bernie Sanders presidency, if he does more than he said he was gonna do, and is even more of like a vociferous leftist, because that would be a positive surprise in my opinion. And for those of us who are further left than Bernie Sanders, but still support him because we recognize that one of the advantages of a neoliberal democracy is that we can elect someone like him, hopefully, if we don't get screwed over like last time. And having a social democrat in power would materially help people and improve the material conditions that people who actually realistically live in this country face. So that's why I believe that we should use the vehicle of representative democracy to the extent that we can, because a lot of people in my school of thought, the anarchist communist school of thought, think no, just don't vote. But that's bullshit. That's cancer. That's ideological cancer if you believe that we should just stop voting. Because there will always be people who vote. You can't convince everyone to stop voting, so then the government just screeches to a halt. Because you know what would happen if that even happened now? Donald Trump would just become a military dictator, like 100%. Trump would not give up his power just because no one's voting for him. You really think that? You really fucking think that? No, but that type of anarchist, that type of thinking on the anarchist side of the spectrum, bullshit. Fucking bullshit, bro. Use what we have for power. Use it. It's my position. I agree. I disagree with a lot of fucking people who agree with me about most other things than that, but it's how I fucking feel. And it's why I'm voting for Bernie Sanders. But what else? So Tulsi Gabbard, I'm kind of angered by the fact that the DNC won't let her on the stage. Like that's literally the only reason why she's not there. But I'm also kind of like, oh, okay, like we don't really need her anymore. Like it's okay for the field of anti-establishment candidates to start thinning because the field of establishment Democrats are thinning as well. So do I think at this point, though, in other news, that Biden will go to like the Biden thing will switch to Kamala later? Maybe, like if something actually happens and Biden drops out. But honestly, what I don't want to see is the whole Joe Biden versus Donald Trump um, boxing match that they were going to do, the old man fight. I don't want to see Biden get his ass eaten by Donald Trump in the general election. I don't want to nominate him. So, yeah. What else for debate? Shit. Booker is boring as always. Buttigieg was just being kind of a snide, like, la-di-da-di-da guy. Trying to look like logical in some way. I think he told like a coming out story, which is like, okay, definitely LGBT issues need to be brought forward, obviously, but like, I don't like the cynical way that the corporatists use identity politics, where it's like, vote for me because I'm gay, vote for me because I'm a woman. That's bullshit. You should never vote for somebody based on their identity. Because that doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna vote in your best interest. That's like a third grade civics class belief. Doesn't really make any fucking sense, really, because there are greater interests than the group in modern political systems, and that interest is money. That's why Bernie Sanders literally would have been a better candidate for women than Hillary. This politics of representation only is gone too far. because representation is not the only thing that matters when it comes to these types of identity politics issues. No young woman should look up to Hillary Clinton because she is a bad person, regardless of the fact that she's a woman. I said it. And I'm literally going to make a video in the next coming week called "Do Not Support Elizabeth Warren Just Because She's a Woman." Don't do it. I've seen it on Twitter. It's cancer. It's bad. No good. Very bad for you. But no good. Very bad. But. Who else do we have to talk about? Yang did his whole UBI thing where he was like, I would propose a freedom dividend of blah blah blah, $100,000 a month for every American, and he did some dumb like raffle shit where he was like, support me and like I'll pick like 10 of you to give $1,000 to like every month, like some weird shit. Yang, I've the most fire I've gotten my whole time these last like couple months I've been doing this channel is from fucking Yang supporters. Andrew Yang's supporters are uniquely online and uniquely defensive and aggressively defensive. Like it's like they look for criticisms of him on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook, and they just attack you. They just swarm you. The Yang gang just swarms, and they come with their like pre-established lines of like, you haven't done enough research yet, and like this dumb shit of like, oh, the freedom dividend stacks with Social Security. Yeah, that's it. It doesn't stack with fucking anything else in the pre-existing social safety net. That's why it's a bullshit UBI proposal. It's right wing. It's a right wing UBI proposal. It's a libertarian Trojan horse. And I have not yet been convinced of otherwise, despite the efforts of whiny Yang gangers. Who just want their $1,000 a month. So yeah, Yang is boring too. Yang has no fucking, he has nothing to add except for $1,000, $1,000 a month, please. And that only gets you so fucking far, especially when most of that money would be absorbed by the landlord industry anyway. Because like, oh, all of my everybody who lives in my apartment is going to be getting like $1,000 richer every month. I'm getting at least half of that shit, dude. I'm raising my rent, dude. Like, see, people don't think. They don't think about the actual like material implications of the policies they purport to believe in. Which is why being a dialectical materialist and having a Marxist type of viewpoint on things it's one of the reasons why that's very helpful in letting you see through bullshit, because there's a lot of fucking bullshit out there in mainstream politics today. So Yang's bad. Warren. Oh, I could talk about Warren a little bit. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, you know, he calls himself a socialist. He lets people call him a socialist, you know. But Warren shies away from this. She doesn't even call herself a SOCDEM. She calls herself she says that she believes in capitalism in her heart, which is like which is just pathetic to me. Like it's just sad. Like The idea that you're trying to be the progressive candidate. I mean, I guess it's like you think it will make you more electable, but like here's the thing. On both sides, people want the base, the political base of the population on both sides wants to be super served. That's another reason why Trump won. Because he fucking gave those Republican base what they wanted to hear. He told them all exactly what they wanted to hear. The anti-war ones, the more libertarian ones, he appeased them until he got elected. He served his base. He super served them on the campaign trail. People in this political day and age do not like the status quo. They do not like centrism unless they're logic bros and they think they're all rational and shit just because they have no fucking strong opinion about anything. People like people like what is seen as extreme on the American political spectrum. People like that in today's day and age. Trump won. Bernie is a leader. He's a political leader. He's heading a movement. Elizabeth Warren is not heading a movement. Um, and those are key distinctions that and why Bernie Sanders is better. Um, and goddamn, this one guy who's commenting a lot throughout this entire live stream. I could argue with him about a lot of things, but that's like another video. Like I could go in. We could have like a full on, but I don't want to do that because I'm trying to talk about the debates. So Warren's whole like foot in both camps idea is not a winning strategy. It just isn't because it's not a movement. It's not radical. It's not people don't understand. It's a total reverse of what the centrists try to tell you on TV. Radical works. If it's palatable enough, radical works. Like Bernie literally calls himself a socialist, even though he's fucking not one. And he has a lot of supporters. So I don't know why Warren is so afraid, or if she just wants to differentiate herself from Bernie, but I don't think Warren will win. I really just don't. I really just think that people who support her just aren't fully tuned in yet. They just like they would be Bernie people, but they're just not there. And I'm there's nothing else that can be said than that for that. Like it's just that. Like that's just the way it works. But hey, maybe I do want to, cause like I'm kind of like forgetting and like kind of blanking a little bit about like moments in the debate actually and like different people on the stage and exactly what they said and what their whole role in the whole thing was. And I already talked about like Julian Castro was good, surprisingly. Bernie, of course, was good. Warren and Bernie are different, but Warren is worse. And Biden was just awful, and Buttigieg was just smug. Yang is boring. Booker is boring. Klobuchar is authoritarian and boring, and losing. She has a losing strategy. Um, Kamala Harris seemed fucking drunk. But I kind of want to interact with the audience a little bit because, like, says my logic is flawed. If you're lucky enough to be on this planet for a while, you will learn the problems of your logic. I just want you to tell me, actually, uh, what flaws in my logic you're seeing, and about what, because I'm interested to know. if you could be so kind to elucidate me about this. It's better to support. Hold on, let me actually read. It is better to support systems that promote personal freedoms. Universal healthcare promotes personal freedoms because you have more money to do other shit than pay your medical bills. That's been proven. Entrepreneurial activity went up in Canada when they socialized their healthcare system. Government is rarely the answer to anything. You just think that because our government right now sucks. Like, we can do good things with it. It's a vehicle that we can use to do good things with. It's not that hard, especially through this democratic lens, like this like getting together lens of like we can all pool some of our money together and help each other. Our government has always sucked. Well, I think that a lot of the world's governments have sucked for a very long time in a lot of ways. And this is a very big issue. Like, yeah. Yeah. But I would agree that America is uniquely flawed in the sense that we literally had slavery here, and that's part of what built our country. Not that ancient societies are really any different than that in that case. But I think I answered your critique with my answer. Why is because our government is not run by angels, I would prefer to limit their control over me. Well, socializing healthcare doesn't really give them any more control over you. I mean, I would end NSA spying, 100%. I would actually kind of dissolve the NSA, honestly. Like, fuck it. And ICE, of course. Fuck ICE, abolish ICE, melt ICE right now. But angels don't exist, bro. Like, we're just humans. Humans will do their best or do their worst, depending on their influences and their conditions. So that's what we need to look out for. And Bernie Sanders has the right influences and conditions, I think, to be the president in this day and age. That is right, and that is why we need checks and balances to prevent the problems we are seeing now. Yeah, our government is supposed to have those. Yeah, that's true. We're probably only gonna go. I'm probably not gonna be on air for that much longer. I've got like work to do and shit. Every branch of our government has been compromised. Yeah, by money mostly, by money and politics, really. Special interest groups. A lot of people don't know this, but this is how it works. Politician will campaign, and corporations and the wealthy will donate to that politician's campaign, and then once that politician gets elected, because capitalist system, the person with the most money wins. As a general rule, that's like part of that contemporary wisdom that is kind of like just tied to the system itself. But once that person gets into office, they will do the bidding of the people who gave them millions of dollars to win. That is just the way, it's the way people operate. It's like, oh, I could do this moral thing or this thing that I told my supporters to do, but Raytheon gave me $1 million, so I'm gonna vote for the war in Iraq so that their planes can bomb more brown kids. Like, yeah, that's how it works. um, but yeah, why is Bernie Sanders so important to me? Well, because Bernie doesn't take corporate money. First of all, Bernie is funded by his supporters who donate like an average of like $27 a month, I think what it is. And he's in the front. He's spearheading a movement, a widespread coalition leftist movement, from people all across the left of the spectrum of politics. And he's really proposing solutions to actual concrete problems that the American people face and that we see in our political system. And why do I think that Bernie is different from others who I don't think will deliver to people? Is because Bernie will change things enough so that they can't be changed back. Like none of this Medicare for all extra, Medicare for all plus, blah 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 blah, public option shit, Biden's plan will change things enough so that a right winger in the next administration can change them back. Like what we need, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but there's a political back and forth that happens every 4 or 8 years where a sort of milquetoast Democrat comes in, helps things a little bit, and then a really hardcore right-wing Republican comes in and undoes all of those things, like, and makes things worse. So then the next Democrat comes in, fixes those things a little bit, tries to fix them, And of course, this whole time, both sides, both of them are doing bad shit. Like, I don't know if you guys understand this, but Obama was terrible on the issue of immigration, just like Trump is. The problem started before Trump. Trump just capitalized on it. But we need somebody who changes things enough so that when it swings to the right, things cannot be broken from that change. And I think Bernie's the guy, because I think Bernie's one of the most radical people we've seen in politics in modern times. He's just an old school FDR type, and that's what a Democrat needs to mean again, not any of this neoliberalism. But I'm signing off. Bernie Sanders 2020. That's my position. Social Revolution 2020 as well. You can email me at socialrevolution2019 for any kind of conversation or question or whatever you want to send me. And I will see you guys this week. I'm going to be uploading regular topical videos again. So subscribe if you want to see them. I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't support Warren just because she's a woman and other things. I'm going to publish my analysis of a book by Slavoj Žižek called The Idea of Communism. And that's what this week looks like. I'll see you guys in the next coming videos.